Hello, my name is James, and this is the second video on the channel. So if you didn't watch the first one, I recommend watching the first one. That was my introduction, and I'll kind of let you know what the channel is actually about and what the plan is for the future. But yeah, so this is my second video. So like I said, in the first one, I was going to lead off with my three favorite teams from each league that we're covering. So it'll be MLB, NHL, and then college football. So I figured I'd start baseball first. So. And yes, this is the Average Sports Joe show. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. So yeah, Baltimore Orioles. So I got the City Connect jersey. Cedric Mullins, the center fielder. I got his jersey. Not my favorite jersey that they had, but I thought it was pretty cool when it came out of it, so I snagged it while I could before it sold out. But so the Baltimore Orioles. I got a couple of quick facts about them, and then I'll lead into why I like them. 1954 is their inaugural season. Before that, they were the St. Louis Browns. They got 6 World Series appearances, but they lost 3 and won 3. And they won in 1966, 1970, and then 1983 was the last one they won. So it's been a little while. But so I became an Orioles fan as a kid because my dad's from Baltimore. So he grew up as a big time Orioles fan and he's stuck with it his entire life through the ups and downs. So as a little kid, as early as I can remember, when baseball season was on, we were always watching the Orioles. And my dad, that's one of the biggest things we still talk about. So yeah, so I've watched them since I was a kid with my dad. So that's the biggest reason why I became an Orioles fan. It's part of the family thing. What me, mom, and dad did. Because every baseball season we watched it, and as a kid, that's all I wanted to play for. Didn't want to play for no one else when I played baseball. I was like, that's where I want to be someday. But life didn't happen like that. Never became a professional baseball player. But so that's how I became an Orioles fan. And the favorite player. So I was born in the 1990s. So when I say favorite player down here is I have a favorite player I've got to watch. So since I was born, the favorite player I got to watch to me was Brian Roberts. He was the second baseman, number 1 on his jersey. Like he played there. He played 14 seasons. Yes, and 13 was with the Orioles, and his last one he had signed with the Yankees, which I wasn't too upset about. He became a free agent, and then Cano signed with the Mariners, and he ended up jumping. And then Brian Roberts signed a 1-year deal with them, and they released him at the end. They released him that year, and he retired after that. So, but Brian Roberts was my favorite. He wasn't the best player in the league, but to me as a kid, I always liked seeing him up bat. I thought it was cool that he switched hit. So when I tried to do it as a kid, the big reason was Brian Roberts. I wanted to be a switcher like he was. But he was one of the best ones that played. I think he really wanted the team to do well. It's just the years he was in it, just they didn't start getting good until right about the time he retired, when the Orioles started having some good years. But he was my favorite player. I always got excited seeing Brian Roberts. And he got introduced in the Orioles Hall of Fame in 2018. And then he does broadcasting, I think part-time broadcasting now. So he's still working with the organization, even to this day. And he's a 2-time All-Star. And then 2007, he led the league in stolen bases. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's the big reasons why I like the Orioles family. All of these teams will somehow connect to family, which is probably how a lot of people get into the sport teams they like. Alright, so we'll be moving on to the next one, and it'll be NHL. Alright, next is my favorite team for NHL, which is the Washington Capitals. I got number 8 of Excellence, the captain of the team's jersey. And they were established in 1974, 2 Stanley Cup appearances. 1998, they lost to the Red Wings, and then 2018, they beat the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's the only Stanley Cup they have, is the one in 2018. Favorite player is Alexander Ovechkin. He has a multiple of awards. This is just a couple. He was 2018 Conn Smythe Trophy winner, so he won the MVP for the Stanley Cup. 3-time Hart Memorial Trophy winner. 9-time. If I mispronounced the name, I apologize. Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy. And then he's 11 goals shy from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record for regular season goals in the NHL. He has 894. So if Vexen gets 895, he'll have the all-time leader in the NHL history in regular season goals. So there's 11 away. We'll see what happens this year. If not, he still has next year to do it. So how did I become a Washington Capitals fan? Well, my dad was from Baltimore, but my dad didn't like the Capitals until he was in the service in the 80s. So in the 80s, he started watching hockey, and since he was from Baltimore, Maryland, and the Capitals just became a team, he started following them very early into their establishment, and he's still a fan of them today. We still talk about it a lot. Talk mostly about MLB. That's my dad's favorite sport, but still talk a lot about hockey. So that's how I got into them. And then as a little kid, I started watching hockey. But then once Alexander Ovechkin got drafted, and watching him play, even though the Capitals had terrible years when he first came to the team, it just got me hooked. I was hook, line, sinker watching Ovechkin play, and then watching players like Sidney Crosby play, watching Paul Dasuk, Ilya Kovalchuk, and there's a ton of other players, but mostly watching the Capitals play, and once they got Ovechkin, it just got me hooked. And it's probably my favorite sport to watch. Definitely my favorite sport to watch in person, and probably on TV. Kind of a toss-up on TV between that and baseball. But if I could go see a hockey game live, I'll pick that over anything. So that's just a quick history on Washington Capitals and how I became a fan of them. They're doing really good right now, so we'll see if that continues for the rest of the season. But alright, next will be my favorite team in college football. Alright, finally we have college football. So my favorite team in college football is the University of Georgia Bulldogs, which I know probably sounds weird because my first two teams were based in the Maryland area, in Washington Capitals in the D.C. area. But born and raised in Georgia, didn't become a fan of Georgia until my sister attended the University of Georgia. I went to the campus, really liked it, and every time I went there, I had a good time. Had a great time, loved it. And then I've watched college football since I was in middle school. Before that, my mom and dad never watched college football. My dad watched NFL, so as a kid we watched the NFL a lot, but my dad never watched college football. So I got into it in middle school, and once I got into college football compared to NFL, I would play college football every week, and still do. So, but I've been around Georgia football my whole life. I've seen more Georgia football gear in Georgia, anything related to the University of Georgia than anything. But once my sister went there, saw the campus, started following the team directly. So instead of watching a bunch of games, I would make sure I watch every Georgia game, and it's got hooked right in on it. And she went to Georgia in the 2010s, so that's when she attended. But yeah, so that became my favorite team. My favorite player since I've gotten to watch Georgia, because I've been watching college football since middle school, so I saw a bunch of good players. But once became a dedicated fan, I started watching in 2010s area time frame. My favorite player was Sonny Michel. Favorite moment he beat Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl in overtime was the direct snap and he ran into the end zone. That was my favorite moment in Sonny Michel's career. University of Georgia has 3 national titles, the ones he got back to back, and then the 1980. So 3 national titles ain't bad. 2 pretty recently, but they had 15 conference championships in total. And so that's a brief history on that. I could do another video about Georgia football. It'd be way more in depth. But and then another reason why I like Georgia, which is also because of my sister, is when I was getting ready to get out of the service, I was looking at schools, and the University of Georgia had a lot of cool agriculture programs that I started looking into. Decided not to do that. Did something else in my life, but I got really close and very interested in agricultural programs and was reading up on all the requirements to get into the school and trying to get ready to redo my SAT and stuff if I needed to get in. So that's another reason I became a Georgia fan, because that was probably the closest big university I was willing to go to once getting out of service. But that's it for the video. The next video I'll make, the third one, we're gonna go over who's in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So if the season ended today, or whenever today as when I make the video, who would be in the playoffs and who wouldn't be in it. And then I'll go over how the hockey playoff format and setup is for anyone who's watching who's never really watched hockey or doesn't know how the playoffs work for hockey. So that'll be in the next video. So like always, like and subscribe. And no matter whatever part of the day you are watching, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And hopefully you guys had a good day. See ya.